Welcome back to our channel. Today we will explain you how to prepare a test case from a very common test scenario. You can use this as a reference document during test case preparation. Steps to follow while designing test cases. First step, avoid listing multiple actions for a single step. The test case description is used to describe the action that the tester will perform to produce an expected result. Only one action should be indicated for each step. For an example, select an item from the drop-down list. Multiple actions may cause confusion for the reader as it becomes difficult to determine which expected result corresponds to a stated action. Second step, the action should be a specific action verb such as click, select, check, enter, etc., instructing the tester exactly what to do. The word verify should not be used as an action verb. Avoid placing or repeating the expected result in the description field. If a SQL query is used to validate results in a step, the SQL code should be included as part of the step description. Third step, do not write test steps that state repeat steps. For example, a tester may write a step that states repeat steps A, B, C with values X, Y, Z. The first test may have been a boundary test, while the repeat portion of the test is checking negative values. With this method, if the boundary validation step passes during the execution phase and the negative validation step fails, the entire test case is considered a failure. This makes it difficult to isolate problem areas. In this example, test validations should be separated into two different test cases. Fourth step, there should be always an expected result. Not every step is a validating step. It is usually necessary to include steps preparatory to the validating steps. Including the expected results for preparatory steps ensures the process and all requirements were fully thought through and will often lead to the discovery of unexpected defects that would not otherwise be identified. In many cases, the temptation is present to avoid listing expected results because they are felt to be obvious. It should be noted that the test lead and test specialist are not the only individuals to use test cases. Fifth step and the last one, the flow of one step to the next should be logical. In other words, there should be no missing or out of sequence actions. For example, an entry on a screen may produce a pop-up message requiring a user response. Steps to clear the message from the screen should be included in this case. Possible scenarios to write test cases for login page. The login page contains fields like username, password, login button, reset button, forgot password, change password link, create new account link, and remember password checkbox. Username field is limited to 50 characters, whereas password field is limited to 10 characters. The username field will not accept numerical values and special characters. If the above conditions are not met, then it should display an error message to the user. It should be accessed both from desktop and mobile devices. User will be logged in successfully on entering the correct data. When user click on create new account link, it leads to user registration page. When user click on reset button, all the entered data in the login page will be erased. When user select the checkbox in the remember password field, the password should be saved in the system When the user click on change password link, it leads to a new page for changing the password. Again, try to log in with the old password and confirm the password change happened. Now, let us see the test cases for login page validation. Test case number 1. Check that all the labels and controls are present in the login page. Test case number 2. Check that the font type of the labels are clearly visible. Test case number 3. Check that the text and text size written on different elements in the page are clearly visible. Test case number 4. Check that the color and user interface of all the elements are as per the specification. Test case number 5. Check that the application's user interface is responsive with all the mobile devices and check for its screen resolution. Test case number 6. Check that all the fields such as username, password, forgot password link, create new account link, login button, reset button, remember password checkbox has a valid placeholder. Test case number 7. Check that the cursor is focusing at the username text box when you open the login page. Test case number 8. Check that the tab functionality is working as expected from username to till the login button. Tab function should be in the order as prescribed in the specification. Test case number 9. Check that the mandatory fields are marked with asterisk symbol. It is to inform the user to fill with the valid data. Test case number 10. Check that the user not able to log in with empty field in both username and password. Test case number 11. Check that the password is in masked form when typed in the password field. Test case number 12. Check that the password can be copy pasted from other documents or not. Test case number 13. Check that the user not able to log in by entering empty field in the username and a valid password. Test case number 14. Check that the user not able to log in by entering invalid data in the username by adding special characters in the name and a valid password. Test case number 15. Check that the user not able to log in by entering valid username and empty field in the password. Test case number 16. Check that the user not able to log in by entering valid username and invalid password. Test case number 17. Check that the user not allowed to enter more than 50 characters in the username field. Test case number 18. Check that the user not allowed to enter more than 10 characters in the password field. Test case number 19. Check that the user receiving messages for all invalid logins like please enter valid username or please enter valid password. Test case number 20. Check that the user able to log in by entering valid data in the username and password field by clicking on the login button. It should take the user to the home page. Test case number 21. Check that the user able to log in by entering valid data in the username and password field by clicking on the enter button in the keyboard. It should take the user to the home page. Test case number 22. Check that the remember password checkbox function is working when it is selected in the login page. Test case number 23. Check that the remember password checkbox function is not working when it is not selected in the login page. Test case number 24. Check that the change password link function is working when it is clicked by the user in the login page. It should lead to a new page where the user prompted to change the password. Test case number 25. Check that the user able to log in into the application with the new password. Test case number 26. Check that the user not able to log in into the application with the old password. Test case number 27. Check that the create new account link is active when it is clicked by the user in the login page. You should take the user to the new page where the user data will be collected for the creation of new account. Test case number 28. Check that the forgot password link is active when clicked by the user. It should take the user to a new page where the user will be prompted to enter secure data for password reset. Test case number 29. Check that the reset button function is working as per the requirement. It should delete the entered data in username and password field and set it afresh to the user to re-enter the valid data. Test case number 30. Check that the user able to log in with multiple failed attempts in a day. It should allow only 5 attempts maximum per day. Else the login credentials should get locked for specific period, or the user should be requested to reach out to the customer support for assistance. It will help avoid brute force mechanism to try all possible combinations of username and password by an unauthorized person. Test case number 31. Check that the user allowed or not to log in with different credentials from the same browser at the same time. For this requirement, you need to check with your client for clarity. Test case number 32. Check that the user can be allowed or not to log in with the same credentials in different browsers at the same time. For this requirement also, you need to check with your client for clarity. Test case number 33. Check that the user able to enter the application after logging in, and then again navigate back to the login page using back button in the screen to check whether the user is asked again to log in or not. Test case number 34. Check that the user login session timeout duration is maintained in the system. It cannot be authenticated for more than specific time limit for security purpose. For this, you need to check with your client for clarity. Test case number 35. Check that the user able to log in to the home page within specified time. For example, 5 seconds. If it takes more than 5 seconds, then it leads to a performance issue. In many instances, the email ID will be used instead of the username on the login page. So, provided the test cases for email ID validation. You can use this as a reference document during email ID test case preparation. Normally, the email ID used to have maximum 80 characters. So, we will set the condition for email ID as 80 characters here. In addition to test case description column, we added a test data column to help understand the type of data to be used during validation. For your information, test data marked in red is related to negative test case. Test case number 1. Enter any digit between 0 to 9 as the first character in the email field and click the submit button. Test case number 2. Enter a special character as the first character in the email field and click the submit button. Test case number 3. Enter any one of the characters from A to Z, set as the first character in the name section of the email field, followed by a special character other than hyphen, underscore and dot and click the submit button. Test case number 4. Enter a combination of characters in the format other than sample@test.com. Test case number 5. Enter any one of the characters from A to Z, set as the first character in the email field, followed by any of the characters marked here and dot as the last character before the @ symbol and click the submit button. Test case number 6. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol. Enter another @ symbol after the first @ symbol and click the submit button. Test case number 7. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol and enter a dot after the @ symbol and click the submit button. Test case number 8. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol, follows the @ symbol with a valid domain name and enter 2 dots in sequence and click submit button. Test case number 9. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol, follows the @ symbol with a valid domain name and enter no dots and click submit button. Test case number 10. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol, follows the @ symbol with a domain name containing special characters other than dot, followed by a dot and click submit button. Test case number 11. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol, follows the @ symbol with a domain name containing valid characters other than the dot, followed by a dot and click submit button. Test case number 12. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol, follows the @ symbol with a domain name containing valid characters other than the dot, followed by a dot. The dot is followed by a special character and click submit button. Test case number 13. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol, follows the @ symbol with a domain name containing valid characters other than the dot, followed by a dot, followed by valid characters and another dot and click submit button. Test case number 14. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol, follows the @ symbol with a domain name containing valid characters other than the dot, followed by a dot, followed by valid characters and click submit button. Test case number 15. Enter a valid name before the @ symbol, follows the @ symbol with a domain name containing valid character other than the dot, followed by a dot, again followed by valid characters and another dot with valid characters, and then click submit button. Test case number 16. Enter a valid email ID in the combination of sample@test.com with a total character length of more than 80 characters. Test case number 17. Enter a valid email ID in the combination of sample@test.com with a total character length within 80 characters. This is the last test case, and the last one is the past test case, that is positive test case in the email field validation. With this, we conclude our topic on sample test case. We will connect again with you in our next topic, text execution. Thank you for watching our channel.